Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another Crossworld TCG video. Welcome back to another installment of How Will X Impact the Game. This time we're going to be going over the red Frieza swaps as well as the red Ginyu Force. So that's actually an archetype I'm actually really excited about coming out of Clash of Fates. So we're going to talk about it. It's going to be awesome. Right before we get into this, I hope you guys are all enjoying your holiday breaks that you guys may or may not be on. If you guys are off of work, off of school, hope you're enjoying it. If you guys are longtime fans of the channel, you can help us out on our Patreon, which is in the link in the description below. Check out our Discord server, which is just, we're always talking about Dragon Ball Super related stuff down there, so you can check that out. You can join that for free. And if you're new to the channel, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that like button would be really helpful, and you guys can get all the awesome DBS content that you guys love. All right, so we'll get into it. So we've got a new swap archetype in the Frieza package. So this is something that is kind of like dicey water, right? Because swap right now, in terms of like the Goku's lineage stuff, more specifically Bardock and Goten, it's pretty dicey. It's borderline, like, you know, busted. Like I've been on record saying that I don't think there are any specific cards in the Storm deck that are particularly busted. I think it's just a combination of all cards that are really good. I don't think if you hit one thing, you can really hit the whole deck. But swap is something that lets you play things for extra cheap, which is just in any energy or resource based game, cheating things out for lower costs and getting really big effects is just really good. But I think they did a good job with this Frieza archetype, and we'll talk about, you know, what the stuff does once we get into it. So we got the red Frieza army leader. So new outside of yellow for the first time, we have a red Frieza army leader, which means he can play Cold Bloodlust as a red leader, which is really cool. You know, I'm a really big fan of Cold Bloodlust. I think it's a really good card in the format. I mean, it's something that keeps certain things in check. You know, I wish a few less things had deflect, you know, looking at you, Goji to 7, but it is what it is, and, you know, we'll answer that when the time comes. But really cool that it's a red leader that can play Cold Bloodlust. So let's see what he does. So here's a Frieza on the backside. Activate main. Once per turn, choose one card from your life, add it to your hand. So we've got some Self-Awakening. Look up 2 cards from the top of your deck. Choose a 1 red Frieza army card from among them, add it to your hand. Then place the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is really going to go well with what the deck's trying to do. And I mean, this leader, once we get to the backside, it's a bit, you know, unimpressive, but it does work with the archetype well on its front side, and it does, you know, allow you to play Bloodlust, and it does have a pretty good field spell that goes along with it. So certain things that are going to drive you to play this archetype, which I'm a big fan of. I like when they do that, when they print cards that make you play an archetype or make you want to play an archetype. So once you do that, you can awaken it for life, draw 1 card, and untap 1 energy. So interesting that they're going with this awaken ability. Let's see what it does on the backside. Frieza, metamorphic threat. When this card attacks, draw 1 card. Use your average 15k leader. Activate main once per turn. Choose 1 red Frieza army card in your battle area and KO it. Then choose 1 card in your hand and place it in the drop area. This card gets plus 5k power until the end of your opponent's next turn. So interesting thing here, you get to go -2 to essentially Sensumine yourself on your own turn. So pretty weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I mean, there's not a lot of the red Frieza army cards that get effects from being KO'd, except for a few. And this deck, if you're going to play the Ginyu package, has to be mono red, which for reasons we'll talk about later. But you can definitely take this different route, just go the swap engine, maybe play a yellow package for Bloodlust, but we'll see what the rest of the stuff does. So leader is, I would say, pretty good on the front side and not so great on the back side. So we've got the swap engine here now. I think it'll make more sense to start at the lower part of the swap and see where the engine starts. So Frieza, Overture to battle. Swap 2, no energy cost into a red Frieza with an energy cost of 2. What's kind of interesting is that throughout the rest of the game's life, they're going to have to, you know, check and balance like what red Frieza 2-drops they make. I mean, I don't think it'd be that hard to do, but something to keep in mind. So you swap it into a 2-drop. When you play this card from your hand, choose to 1 of your red leader cards or red battle cards other than this card, and it gains 5k power for duration of the turn. What's really cool, I mean, it's a 1-drop power boost in any red deck. Kind of cool, kind of nifty, but still pretty good in the deck it's meant to be played in. Then we have the 2-drop that swaps into. So swap 3 for 1 energy, which is pretty good energy cost. Drop a 3-drop for 1, pretty good. With energy cost of 3, permanent during your opponent's turn, this card gets minus 5k power. I'm not sure why they chose to go with this. I mean, then again, I do, I guess, because it's a 1-drop 15k. I guess they were sort of afraid of, you know, coming in too cheap, being another, you know, storm type of threat. So it gets that minus 5k in the opponent's turn. I guess it makes it a little bit easier for the opponent to clear if this did ever become an aggro archetype. I mean, the Overture to battle and this Frieza, they don't get you cards, so I can't really see it being a good, you know, storm type of engine. But the 1 into the 2-drop swap would be the way to do it if it was to be abused like that. Frieza, Storm of Blows. So for that 1 energy, you come into this guy. He's got Barrier, which is pretty good. Swap 5 for 2 energy. So you're dropping a 5-drop for, you know, a total cost of 3 energy. This is pretty good. You know, in 1 turn on turn 3, you can go right up to your 5-drop, which is pretty solid. When you play this card, shoot up to one of your opponent's battle cards with 20k power or less, KO it. I like that. I like that a lot. Some straight up smart removal, pretty thematic with what the happened in the Frieza saga. Then we have the 5-drop Final Showdown Frieza. Critical Double Strike. Critical Double Strike is actually a really good, thing built into a card like this. I mean, it's just super strong because at any point in the game, if it's pressuring lethal, they're not getting cards, and it's just Critical Double Strike. Two of the best things you could possibly pair together at a 25k body. Kind of wish it had barrier for a reason I'll talk about in a second, but auto once per turn. When your opponent declares to play a battle card or activate a skill, it puts battle cards into play. If your leader cards are red, Frieza army, so you have to play the leader above. You may choose one card from your life, place it in the drop area. If you do, the battle card is played with its skill negated for the duration of the turn. This skill can be activated at counter timing. This card is amazing. I'm really happy with this card, and this is the #1 reason I want to play this deck, is because this card is basically a cold bloodlust that gets around deflect, which I think is really good. I'm really happy about that. I mean, certain things like Gogeta 7, they need an answer. I do and I don't wish this thing had barrier because, you can bait it out with certain things. Like, if you're playing, like, a Mass Saiyan, you can bait it out with the Mass Saiyan, and you can drop your Gogeta 5 to answer this, and then next turn your Gogeta 7 is, basically online, which is kind of annoying. But just for 3 energy, the following turn, you can go right back up to the 5-drop if you have all the pieces in hand. So that's not that bad. I actually think this card alone is going to make this leader very playable and this archetype very good. So I'm actually really happy about this card. Pair this with a yellow package for Cold Bloodlust. I'm thinking something like a thick red package to play this swap package, and then like some type of light yellow package for negates and Bloodlust and things like that. So really happy with this card. Really like it. Art on it is absolutely amazing. So now we'll scroll past the swap package and we'll get into the next card, Body Change Ginyu. This card is absolutely insane. I really like this card as well. Another reason to play this archetype. So when you play this card, choose all Ginyu Force cards in your battle area. They gain plus 10k power for duration of the turn. So kind of like that Evolve Ginyu from, I think it was set 1. That Evolve Ginyu that comes in, boosts the field. Doesn't give him double strike, but still pretty good. Activate main, place this card in the owner's drop area. Play this card in your opponent's battle area from its owner's drop area with its skills negated. Then shoot up to one of your opponent's battle cards, 20k power or less, other than Body Change Ginyu, gain control of it, and switch it to active mode. So there's a whole lot in that. So you give this card to your opponent, you take one of their guys, just like Ginyu body changes in the Frieza saga with Goku. You get that insane effect, and that's really nuts. I mean, that's a really solid effect. Any 20k beater your opponent has, you just take it. Double strikers, critical guys, just big beaters that are furthering their game plan, you just take them, which is absolutely nuts. Really happy with this card. Really big fan of it. It's another dynamic to the game, which is really cool. Now we get into the Strike Force, the Ginyu Force cards that are coming out in red. So these cards are really cool, and they're really well balanced, which I'm really happy about. This could have easily been a spammy archetype, kind of like Veggies, and it could have got out of control. But let's see what they'll do. So 2-drop Raccoon, red, 10k power, double strike. Not very often we see a 2-drop double striker or a 10k power double striker. So when you play this card from your hand, if all your battle cards are red and no other color, look it up top 5 cards of your deck, choose one red Ginyu Force card with energy cost of 2 other than Raccoon and play it. And then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So a couple of things there that make it really balanced. So this is obviously a spammy archetype. You play one, you could scry 5, play another one if you see it. The really cool thing is that all your other battle cards have to be red. The card has to be played from your hand. The Strike Force has to be played from your hand in order to trigger that effect. And then the cards you see in the top of your deck go to the bottom of your deck. It doesn't get shuffled and randomized again. So if you hit a bunch of your Ginyu pieces in the top 5, they go to the bottom of the deck. The fact that your stuff also has to be yellow, which means certain Ginyu cards we'll talk about later aren't going to really mesh too well with this archetype, but really cool nonetheless. Really cool part of the archetype. If the Frieza deck was going to be mono red, this would be a pretty solid package to play in it, especially because of the super combo we'll get to in a little bit. Strike Force Birder, 2-drop critical 10k, same effect. Look at top 5, play it. So you got a double striker and a critical, which is really good. And then we have the super combo, Strike Force Jace. So super combo, it is a Ginyu Force that you can scry off the top 5 and summon potentially, so you can actually dig for your deck for your super combo, which is really cool. When you combo this card, if your leader card is a red Frieza army and your life's at 5 or less, draw 1, and this card gets 10k power for duration of the turn. So you have to be playing the red Frieza army leader. Another reason to potentially play the Ginyu Force in the deck. Right now, I'm debating whether I want to play just a swap line with a yellow package, or if I want to go full out red, maybe a smaller yellow package still to play Bloodlust, but more red just to hit certain things like Jace and all the other Ginyu Force. So still tinkering with that. Now we have the Strike Force Goldo. Goldo is just always super kind of lackluster, but it's part of the package for maximum consistency. So He's a 10k barrier, which isn't super duper relevant in my opinion, but he's got the same effect to spam onto the board. So I mean, you would play Goldo, maybe a 4 of, probably more like a 3 of, maybe even a 2 of if space is tight, and you can just you know, get him for more consistency off top of your deck. Then we have Dodori, the expendable blocker, and when this card is KO'd, shoot up to 1 red Frieza army with energy cost 2 or less from your hand and play it. So this is that same type of thing where if you block it, you get to summon a dude from your hand, just like the Frieza we saw in set 5. Also, this does seem that like it will trigger off of your leader KOing it, which is pretty solid. I mean, you know, you have to take a -2, but you get to summon a guy and, you know, potentially start going off with your Ginyu plays. Could be kind of decent. They're also getting a 30k vanilla card. I really like these cards a lot. I really like 30k vanillas a lot. They're really good. Zarbon, hidden potential. When this card's KO'd, draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. It gets -5k power for duration of the turn. So you actually, this is actually really good. I mean, because you just turn your leader's awakened ability into not a neg. I mean, you know, you draw 1, so you replace one of the cards you lost off of your Frieza leader, and then you can potentially KO one of your opponent's battle cards. So you can potentially even out off of that exchange, which is really good. Strategic Mind Kikono, not really part of the archetype, but still Frieza army, so we'll talk about it. When you play this card, choose one of your opponent's leader cards and gains -5k power for duration of the turn, and you can't play Kikono for duration of the turn. Honestly, this card's pretty low impact. I mean, a 3 energy investment is really steep just to neg your opponent's leader 5k for duration of the turn. I mean, Planet M2 does the same thing every single turn, and you only have to invest 1 energy into it 1 time. So, not super duper keen on this card. Raccoon Ultra Fighting Bomber. This card's actually really cool. Activate main if a Raccoon card is in play in your battle area, so you like give your strike force, but this will seem to work with any yellow ones, even though the yellow one's not too great. But choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 15k or less, ignoring barrier and KO it. So that ignoring barrier part is absolutely amazing. Another great reason to play Raccoon and the whole Ginyu package. And we'll talk about this card next, and I'll say what I was going to say a second ago. Field the Frieza spaceship, 2 red energy. So the two cost is kind of steep, but again, they're just trying to balance it. At the end of your turn, choose a 1 red Frieza army card with energy cost 2 or less in your hand and play it. If you played a card with a skill, draw 1 card. So it lets you play down you know, any, you know, Ginyu for free, or any of your, you know, Frieza swap pieces for free, and it replaces the card, which is really cool. It is kind of a steep energy investment for 2, but I mean, if games tend to go longer, this can be very good. So something really cool to look into. Another reason to play this archetype, which I'm really happy about. I really like when they do this kind of stuff that, you know, drive people to an archetype to play it. Paralysis technique, a red negate, counterattack, negate the attack, and if your leader card is a red Frieza army, choose your opponent's leader card and all their battle cards to get -5k power for duration of the turn. This is actually really good. I mean, it just staves off aggro, makes all your opponent's guys smaller, makes it easier for you to defend, which is really solid, really good negate. Yeah, super duper good. So that's all the archetype stuff. Now we'll talk about a little bit how this stuff can interact with certain things that are already in the format. So we go over Shenron's Lair real quick. We've got the yellow Ginyu leader, which we all know from set 1. On the unawakened side, activate main, flip over 1 face down card in your life. If it's a Ginyu force but not Ginyu, play it, so you can get started right then and there for free potentially on your red Ginyu summons. But the issue there is that the yellow Ginyu forces clash with that, so you can't have yellow Ginyu forces on the field to resolve your red Ginyu force effects. But I mean, if your leader is just yellow, you're playing the red package, you could still play things like Bloodlust with the small yellow package. Could still be pretty good. Activate main once per turn on the awakened side. Add 1 card from your life to your hand. This card gains double strike for duration of the turn. And if there are 2 or more Ginyu forces in play, this card gains additional 5k for duration of the turn. So you have that double strike effect that was super duper good in Veggie format, and you just are able to give him a big power boost because you're going to be spamming the board with Ginyus. So this could be a good way to play the deck if you're just going to go for Ginyu spam potentially. Then we have the Ginyu the Reliable Captain. So 3-drop, he makes all Ginyus evolve for less. So you could still play just this Ginyu and the evolve cost Ginyu to give everything 10k double strike. So you can turn him into an evolve, which is cool. When we play this card, you can spam any Ginyus from your hand and play them. The problem with that though is that will not trigger your red Ginyus, like I said before, because your rest of your board has to be red in order for those guys to trigger. So that could be unfortunate, but if you do have a lot of those guys in your hand, I mean, it could turn out pretty good. And then we've got Powerful Bond Ginyu Force. This is a really old tournament pack promo, but when you combo with it, you give all your Ginyu Forces plus 5k. So the issue with them right now at the moment is that all the Strike Force guys, they're actually really small. I mean, you got the 10k, 10k, 12k, 10k. Those are all the guys you're going to be spamming onto the board by their own effects. And they're really small. I mean, they don't threaten, you know, awakened leaders. So having this combo card to give everything plus 5k for the turn is really, really solid. Could be, I mean, even if you're not playing much of a yellow package, I mean, this could actually be part of the yellow package you just play just to charge, just to have access to your cold bloodlust, which is really cool. So something to keep in mind there. I actually like that a lot. And then we have the cold bloodlust, of course, whether you're playing the Ginyu leader or the red Frieza leader. Cold bloodlust is just one of the cards you really have to try and fit into your deck. It's just so good. But I mean, we have the evolved Ginyu down here, like I mentioned before, give everything plus 10k double strike. And you have the chain attack Trunks. So the reason I have that here is just to say that, like I've been saying a million times, all of your Strike Force cards have to have other red battle cards in order to resolve their effects. But, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it doesn't have to be red Ginyus. It could be any other red battle cards. So the really cool thing about that is you can play, you know, other good battle cards in terms of, like, you know, chain attack Trunks, 1-drop intensifying power Trunks. Your any Gohans you have, like burst attack Gohan or Yamcha or Pan, anything like that. You can play all those good red battle cards and still resolve the Ginyu Force's effects. I mean, think about that, like going Strike Force into Strike Force into all your Strike Forces and then dropping a Fearless Pan onto the board, giving everything double strike. That's pretty solid. I mean, that's a pretty good effect. You know, something like that I'd probably play in like the Ginyu leader. I don't necessarily think I'd play it in the red Frieza leader just because you want to be playing things more for free, and that'll be much more focused on that Strike Force, you know, archetype. However, really good thing to note is that you can play just generically good red battle cards with the Strike Force package, maybe a good mono red deck with just yellow to play Bloodlust. Really, really solid. So overall, the Strike Force stuff I think will be a little bit more rogue. I mean, it's very spammy, but it's also very balanced, which will probably, you know, prevent it from being at the top of the meta by certain means, but I think it's very good and very cool. The swap engine, though, I think is going to be a lot stronger because we've seen swap just dominate the game, and this is not going to dominate in necessarily the same way. I mean, it's not going to be as aggressive because the 1-drop doesn't, you know, it doesn't hurt unawakened leaders, it doesn't do anything like that, and the 2-drop doesn't gain you cards. But for just 3 or 4 energy, I guess technically, you can go all the way up to the 5-drop, which is essentially a, you know, Bloodlust on wheels, which is really cool, and it gets around Deflect. So for that, I think this is going to have formats where this card shines. I mean, the fact that it answers Gogeta 7, I'm a huge fan of that. So really, really good. With that being said, I think that this archetype is going to be a great addition to the game. I think it's going to have a strong place, especially when you have problems with Deflect like Gogeta 7, in my opinion, and the opinion of many other people. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think about that, about this archetype down in the comments below. I'm really interested to know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really, really appreciate it. My name is Joey. This is Crossworld TCG. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.